Better Beer, they're big contributors to Ain't That Swell. They keep our engines turning, more content, more programs, and just support the crew who support the potty, mate. It's that simple. Keeps us going mad.
Sick. Fuck. Finally made it happen, man.
Oh, it's been a bit, huh?
So psyched. You one of our more requested guests.
Wonder why.
People want to know about the wild and wacky world of Kohl Christensen.
I've been on one lately. But I'm back home now, so feeling a little grounded.
It must take a while to find your feet on the ground after, how long was it at Burning Man in the end?
Oh, yeah, that one. I had a really soft landing. I brought my wife for half of it this year, and she actually let me sleep for 2 days. Without really having to help the kids, just kind of like, yeah, it was a great landing back home. I think we were there 10 days total, me and a buddy. We flew in, grabbed the RV, and picked the wives up on Monday morning, drove in, and they both, not because the rain was coming, but because they had it scheduled, they both left before the rain, and then we stayed and finished it out, and it was epic. Always is.
Yeah. How many of them have you been to?
Just a couple. And this one, it's the way I look at it, like there's, you obviously get the girls with 100 different outfits taking their Instagram pictures, and that's a lot of the stuff you see, but the real stuff is the creativity that brews from it. It's almost like a Montessori preschool for adults, where you get exposed to all these different mediums, from art to music to workshops, and you have all the drugs if you want them. Everything is available to you, and there's really this glorious sense of freedom that allows you to dive really deep in here, and then connect with like-minded people. Like it's an effort to get there, so everyone that's there has gone through a bit of a process, and a lot of them have very similar views of where we should head as a human race, and where we need to head, like, immediately. And it's perception. It opens it, life's perception. And it's in areas. So yeah, I think it's really powerful, and I would highly recommend it for anyone. Yeah, go. Yeah.
Oh, I love that, man. Yeah. And events like this, they act as like a filtration process, right? So like, it's a filter for a certain kind of human, and that human, I guess, is sipping on a different Kool-Aid to the average suburbanite bogged down in mortgage debt, without the means to really think of a solution to our problems, or maybe more accurately act on a solution to our problems. Because the problems are fucking staring us all in the face. I mean, imagine being in the desert when it flooded. That's pretty. That seems pretty like an extreme weather event. On the back of, you got fucking.
One of the 10 things is radical self-reliance, and honestly, it was the media blew it out of proportion. It was only frustrating for those who needed to be places. And at that, you could have walked out, and many people did. So it dried out like the desert does, and it returned to the normalcy that Burning Man presents itself with, and the party continued, and the talks continued. We hosted all the sustainability talks at Black Rock Labs camp, is where I stayed, and my buddy Forrest Shear's dad, David Shear, hosts all the sustainability talks. And it was powerful, man. There's things that you don't know come up. There's a lot of magic happens, like anywhere in life. It's just a great place for it all to kind of come together. And like I said earlier, I'd really support anyone that wants to get out there and meet some new people, because it's a great place, like you said. it brings a lot of like-minded people together.
So sick, man. It's one of the things I admire about you is that, yeah, you're not your typical meat and potatoes surfer. You know, you're venturing into environments where surfing's irrelevant, where your status as a surfer is irrelevant, and you're connecting with people on a very grounded basis. You know, a lot of elite surfers don't do this, and a lot do, but like, yeah, it is admirable, man. And just speaking of like extreme weather events, not that that flooding was all that extreme, I guess, but I'd be mad not to get your take on what's happening over there in Hawaii at the moment with the fires, obviously in Maui, and yeah, what your take on all that is, and where that's at.
I mean, I don't have many words. It's like it's just heartbreaking to see a disaster like that take place in our lifetime, so close to home. I'm an island removed, but I have, you know, obviously have a lot of connection because I have friends there, and I got to see kind of what they've been going through, and yeah, it's tough. It's super hard, and the rebuilding process, everything about it. I talked to Ian Walsh a few days ago, and he's super involved, and obviously with, you know, being there from Maui, and just the great person he is. He's really put a lot of energy into the support and relief effort, and it's yeah, tragic, man. It's super sad. And Lahaina was such a cool place, and I have so many memories growing up. I'd go over for the Halloween fishing tournament, the jackpot, and we'd drive the boat over, and we'd stay at the hotel right there in the plaza, and we'd party. Lahaina was like famous for its Halloween parties for years. It was just like this. People would fly in from around the world, and I have a lot of fond memories of that little beautiful little spot. And you know, but for those that lost their homes and businesses and all the families and the people that lost, my heart goes out to them. It's tragic.
And in terms of like, is it too early to be having those conversations around the culpability factor, like who or what is responsible? I mean, I understood that that part of Maui has like more emergency distress beacons than any other state or any other province in America, but they weren't turned on or something like that. I don't know if this is, I think that was actually reported in the New York Times, so that's pretty legit. But yeah, and is this like a climate change kind of thing?
I mean, yeah, the science is there. I just finished David Attenborough. You know David Attenborough?
Yeah,
A
man.
Life on his new he just did his he's 94 years old, and he just wrote his witness statement on the earth, and in his lifetime the population has increased from 2 billion to almost 8 billion people, and that's in less than 100 years. And he relates all of these topics, especially climate change, very relevantly and eloquently in his new book. But yeah, climate change is real. We have to make some hard changes in the next decade to slow it down. Was this fire a result of climate change? I can't answer that. Maui's windy. It's been dry. Yeah, it's a fascinating. We're in a critical time, and we have it. It's so easy to ignore it with all our luxuries and the ability to jump on our iPhone and book a ticket and fly somewhere, and it's so easy not to ignore it. But you need to be reading literature. You need to be following people that are involved in it. You know, life is about perception, and if we're running life right here, we're not gonna see the rest of it. It's like who you follow on Instagram. It's like an example I heard, I think, from Eckhart Tolle, who's one of my favorite dudes. He talks about sunset and perception, and every day we see a sunset and we see a sunrise, and that's reality, and that's truth, right? But hold on, you back up and you go to the moon and you look at the earth from the moon. The sun never rises and never sets, so that it's all perception. And that's what's so rad about Burning Man. You get into these holes and you get into these places, and that breaks down and opens that up, and then you get to a place where maybe something emerges from the energy inside of you, from that light, from that you didn't, you know, we can't think on it. The thoughts will never arrive to that place of true creativity. It has to come from somewhere else. And we have to arrive there. And the only way to arrive there is to go to places like Burning Man or go surfing and truly connect. I'm looking at the water right here.
Yeah.
Truly connect and truly be immersed in nature. And it's very similar, but those barriers, if we don't allow those barriers to break down, we don't really truly allow ourselves and our energy inside of us to connect to that, we're never going to get there. And yeah, I mean, climate change, I've been installing solar. I'm a general contractor. I grew up building houses. My dad was a builder. So I've been doing renewable energy projects since 2006, when my brother and I became stewards of a property up the road. We didn't have access to the utilities. So I had to go back to school and learn about solar energy. Installed a system with any of those solar geeks out there, Kyocera 130s and 6-volt lead acid batteries. So this was an Outback inverter. And now we've arrived at a point, during my lifetime, during my career, during my involvement in the renewable energy sector, we've arrived at a point where we have these incredible lithium batteries. We have solar panels that are the same size, but 3 or 4 times as strong. And the price point has dropped dramatically. It's now cheaper to install renewable energy than it is to run fossil fuels. And we've arrived at that point, and there's going to be kind of a bridge until we get there to all renewable energy, between wind, sun, and thermal. But we're moving that way, and it's really exciting. It's been fun to be a part of it. And there was a discussion at our camp. This dude was there, and he was he's in the process. There's 600 old coal and diesel generation power plants in the U.S. that are perfect for what he's looking for. He's in the process of raising money, purchasing them, putting large solar fields next to them, hiring the crew that runs them to now manage a renewable energy plant. So this is happening. And this was a session. I met the dude at Burning Man this year. I mean, he's in the process of raising money. He's already done one, and he has 600 more on his list. And there's so much energy headed towards that right now. It's pretty cool. It gives me chicken skin.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Wow, that's amazing, man. Yeah, it's like capitalism has brought us to this point where it's created this amazing technological and innovation boom, and it's been really helpful in that way. But it's also kind of at the same time stymieing the release of all these technologies and the pivot into that world, because the petrochemical companies still hold all the cards. So yeah, it's a strange tipping point where we all know the next step, but there's commercial agendas that are preventing that from taking place. And then you look at somewhere like China, this fucking monolithic communist culture, and they're just like, oh no, it has to go to this next step. We're going there right now. Like, they've pivoted. I don't think anything that is invented in China now can run on a carbon based fuel. So yeah,
Morocco was 100% fossil fuels, and now they're 40% renewables, and they're headed towards, like, they're skyrocketing in that direction, and they're storing their energy in their salt flats.
Wow.
And access to solar energy at night. Yeah, there's crazy things happening, and it's fun to be part of. But we also got to get everyone on board, like you said, the capitalistic mindset with the oil companies being as large as they are. I mean, that's going to be a battle. There's a march next week on September 17th to end fossil fuels in New York. I just saw somewhere, which is kind of neat. So it's happening. Energy's there. Yeah, no, it's exciting.
That is sick, man. Now, last time we were chatting, it was like basically at the peak of the Hawaiian winter, and there'd been like a run of crazy pipe swells, and then the eddy. And that was when we kind of lost communication. But talk us through that last winter. It was pretty mental. You had a real solid dig in the eddy. That was impressive.
Yeah, some days you're on, some days you're off, huh? Like, some days you connect. It's funny, like, I've been waiting so many years to surf that day, and then I just had a shocker. But I broke my board in the first heat, and but it was so rad because I'm speaking about the Eddie. To see Luke win, I know Luke's dad. He was the referee in our mud pits back when we used to have these huge 3-day raids up on the
That's
property.
right.
And
Yeah,
he'd be
what the hell was
naked,
what was the mud pit?
we used to have these parties when my brother and I bought that land. But I think it was 2006. We were the only ones back in this whole valley, so we were able to have these parties, and we had this excavator, and we dig a 10-foot deep by 10 by 10 pit, and we'd have a bandstand and stripper, go-go dancing poles, and we'd just go for days and have bands come. People would be lined up. There'd be a mud road. Cars would just be left everywhere. We didn't know at first like how it was going to go down. Okay, we'll build the pit, but how are we going to get people in? They're all fucked up. And I go on the stage and, well, okay, does anyone want to get in the pit? And dude, we had people running, like the drummer behind me like took off his shirt. I'm in. And so we go over there. We put fire all around it. And Luke's dad gets down in there, and he's the ref. And I think we're only letting girls in because it was funner to watch. And then all we had to do was pour tequila over the sides, and
wow, no way, that's loose.
But that's how we met Luke's dad. He's rad. He shapes these little handboards. He's a beautiful human, and he obviously created a beautiful son. And it was really fun. I got to stand next to him during the awards ceremony when Luke took the win, and it was so special. Like they talk about Eddie Aikau and how special he is and his legacy, and then for him to hand it off to another lifeguard, like you can't script it, So it was cool, and that was one of the highlights of my winter, being able to witness that. And then I did get let's see, I think we had a bunch of pipe swells. I kind of got back out there. I'm feeling it. It's one area of my life I'm still, but I am getting out there, and I did get a wave, and it was crazy because, about my accident on New Year's Eve 2019. Cracked my head open, and yeah. But getting back out there was a bit of a process for me, and I'm sitting out there. I hadn't gotten a good one yet since. I kind of had a couple near misses and a strikeout and on the beach. Now I'm not going to go out, and I've been kind of waiting for those like bigger nice days. I like the second reef days where the playing field's bigger and you can get those like big tubes from outside. And I was out there and paddled out, and Andrew LaGreco, who the morning that I got hurt, came over on the jet ski, and I talked to him before I paddled out because I was on my ski and with Russo, and he's like, "Hey, I just came down from Waimea. What's up?" I'm like, "Hey, what's up?" So I paddled out, and I'm sitting next to Kalani Chapman, who also had an incident at pipe the year prior. I was there for it. Had to get resuscitated. So we're chatting. I hadn't seen him since.
Didn't hear about that one. That's wild.
Yeah, no, there's been a lot of them. Mikey Red, like I can. So there's a
Dusty
group of
Payne
us
had one too.
Dusty Payne, yeah, I talked to him. There's been a bunch, man. Well, it's a dangerous spot, and we keep going back. So that was So anyway, Andrew, when I went back to pipe this winter, Andrew, the guy that came in and jumped off the jet ski, grabbed me, get my head out of the water, and yelled my name, and he saw me take my last breath, like right before the next wave hit me, and so he basically saved my life. Thank you, Andrew. And he was out right when I came out this winter, and he was sitting deeper. I could see him because he's wearing a helmet, and I was wearing a helmet, or we both got our helmets now, or something. And he's like, and I see him, and I wave to him, and the sun's kind of setting, and he lifts his arm like this to wave back, and I can see a silhouette. And as he does that, the wave that was like coming just kind of stretched out right over to where I was sitting, and I just churn, I paddle, and just pull in, and then I just stand there. It's like, I'm good, stoked. Thanks, Andrew. Thank you.
Man.
That was kind of the moment for me, I think, this winter. One of the moments of my life, really, to come back from, and then having that special little connection right before the wave. But life's there. It's so crazy how, like, this morning I was out here surfing, and I was thinking about my buddy Greg Arms that died in Alaska, and I have this photo that I want to put up in their lodge up in Alaska, and I was thinking about what to write on it, and I came up with something I think is pretty cool. But anyway, as I was thinking of it, there was like no waves, and then the rain had passed, the sun came out, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh, I should probably go in, and then I think about Greg, like this, like head high wave, just kind of this. Well, thanks, Greg. And I kind of it was epic. And I
Wow.
had to get in quick, so I had to write down what I was thinking. But he sent me right in. I wrote it down. I got it in my notes. So
Wow, man. Yeah, I can't imagine how hard it was to come back and have a crack at pipe after that injury. What was the injury? I think I might have even had this injury. It was a fractured skull and bleeding on the brain. Is that what it was?
um yeah, essentially it was like if you feel here, it's like smooth, but if you feel here, it's all like cratered out.
Yo.
So he cut this out and then plated it all back together, like
Yo.
a spider web. And I think I spent 6 or 7 days in the ICU,
Yo.
and then spent another few months at home recovering. My mom was a hippie. She lived on Haight Ashbury next to Jefferson Airplane. So
Wow.
I grew up reading or looking at books of Ram Dass and listening to all that music, but I never totally got it or connected with it. And
Hmm.
then after my injury, someone's like, hey, you need to start meditating. And I dabbled in it, and I'd always done stretching and yoga and whatever, but there was like this huge transition for me where I dove in, and I'm just like there now. I'm feeling a lot more connected, grounded, a lot happier, a lot more grateful,
Yeah.
just a lot more present than I ever have been in my life. And because of my family and I have two little girls, they're 4 and 6, and my wife is also a doctor, and Hawaiian, and we're this really supportive family. With my mom and dad are around. They're separated, but they're both here in Haleiwa. And all of my friends, I was able to like come out of this. I could have went the other way pretty easy, I think. Like you go into a pretty dark place coming out of something like that, and I got a lot of love and light and support, and here I am talking to
Epic,
you.
man. On a roll, Cole. That's your nickname, man. On a roll. Yeah. It's great, man. Like, and meditation, it's a big part of my life. Breath work's a big part of my life. And for the same reasons, because it's just a history of head injuries. And it's so interesting what you were saying before, like, connecting to that quiet place, and that's where the thoughts, the genius, the creativity comes from. It's not, you can't think your way into that place. You get there by sitting still and connecting with the Buddha nature or the Christ consciousness or whatever it is. And in that stillness comes direction and contentment and bliss and visions of how you should be living your life, what is the correct way to treat people. And yeah, it's a profound tweak to your existence once you embrace those healing modalities that you've embraced. But it's usually only after a point of crisis that we turn to them, which is a bit of a shame, but it is what it is. Yeah. How's your relationship to surfing changed since you've embraced these kinds of things, and even the kind of fairly adrenaline fueled life that you live or used to live?
Yeah, I haven't lost the desire yet to get a little rowdy. Wondering when that's gonna happen. I chase a lot of snowstorms, and I went down to Fiji this summer and got some. I went twice actually, for two kind of different swell events. But but you know, I remember the first wave I caught after my accident, and I was on not knowing if I'd ever surf again, not knowing if my balance would come back because I had this crazy vertigo.
Wow.
And I remember it was right out here. It was on a soft top, and it was like a 6-inch wave, maybe bigger. And I remember the sensation like I do my very first wave when I was a kid, like just that gliding, even more, it's more vivid, just that flying, gliding sensation. And every time I surf, just being immersed, it like you said, like once you connect to that, and you start to slow your shit down a little bit, you start to breathe, and you start to enjoy and appreciate how fucking beautiful the ocean and this planet we live on is, whether it's the mountains or the surf. For us, I mean that's it. Then you're there, then you're surfing, and then you're connecting, and then you're, you know, like crowds come and go, but like we are so fucking lucky to be able to go out in the ocean and enjoy that. And I hope my kids can do that, because it's pretty special. In the forests and the mountains, like I spent a lot of time in the mountains, and I was thinking about that earlier when I was thinking about my buddy Greg out in Alaska who died. How, you know, we're so lucky we're in the ocean, and they're getting that same feeling in the mountains, because they're, you know, just being out there in nature, you know, and everyone in their respective worlds. But you know, we have sports, but then we have these outdoor sports where different athletes get to spend time immersed in elements that can potentially kill them, and get to enjoy that beauty, and that have that moment of awe, like that moment of just realization that we are just a speck here, you know, like that humble moment. And I get that every time I surf now. It's just fucking rad.
That's so rad. Yeah, that deep calm brings about that kind of real connection with the moment and with nature. And when you just fixated on stuffing yourself in as many tubes as possible, and like, you know, that kind of adrenaline mania, you miss all those in between bits, and that's where the gold is. And
Yeah.
when you're properly connected, it can only take like one wave to make your surf or your day or your trip. It's a total recalibration of the surfing experience.
You lose the expectations, man.
Yeah.
I'll go to pipe, man. If I get one, I get one. I'm good. I'm good. But anywhere, you know, like it doesn't matter. It's the process. It's the journey.
Totally. Talk to us about Cloudbreak, man. You've, you know, got one of the best waves of all time out there. How did you go on these trips? Did you get good waves? Anything that stands up to that wave?
No, I don't think any stood up to that one. That was like my my benchmark. But I have a blast every time I go. I have beautiful friends down there. The Tavita, I was hanging with Tavita and Shay and Yuri, and the boys, the Fiji boys, and I got to hang out on Tabru a bit with John Roseman, and Kaio was there. So and Ben Wilson and much. I have a lot of friends. Been going there forever, and it's for us. It's one of the easiest trips from Hawaii. And for you guys too. It's actually easier for you guys.
So close. Yeah.
But we I think what stood out to me this summer was my brother, who has 3 kids and works a bunch. He had this trip planned to Lanai, and I saw this like 2 little snots come up, 2 swells, and let's go. And he's like, I can't. I'm going with my wife to Lanai about this thing. And I'm like, all right. And so like the night before the swell, I poked him one more time. I'm like, hey, dude, you sure? It looks pretty good. And then he texted me in the morning. He's like, I'm coming. I got a ticket. So he canceled the trip with his wife. It was cool though. And we went and spent like 4 or 5 days, 2 swells, and it was a real windy event, so not a lot of people flew in for it. I think Kingi was there from Australia. I'm just trying to think of who came up from Australia, but it was yeah, it was epic, man. We got, 6 to 10, 12 or whatever, 6 to 10, and a lot of tubes and good quality time with my brother, and got to see dolphins and sunsets and sunrises and kite surf and do all the things. Um, and, and we got little moments, man. We all got barrels. And that's kind of one of the things we go for still.
So good, man. And talk us through the wave of your life. Like, it's one of my favorite waves of all time. Just the size of it and just the way you surf it. Like, finding a line through that thing, and it's like it's so close to a make that you like. I don't know. Sometimes there's too much emphasis put on making a tube, where it's like, if you get to the end of it and body surf out of it, or like, make it that far, it's like, it's just as good, isn't it? Like, I mean, it's not as good, but it's still like, I don't know. It was amazing, man. Talk us through that thing.
Yeah.
That whole trip, even.
It is what it was. And
Yeah.
I get back, and the Surfer Pool Awards that year, they nominated me for Wipeout of the Year. I'm like, really? Wipeout of the Year. It was, yeah. Anyway, so I that was 2009. I think it opened. The decree got it opened, and Tabarua was closed, and there was a big swell. They were closing Tabarua. All the guests canceled because, oh no, we can't surf by ourselves, whatever. This was 2009, and we saw the swell, and a bunch of us from Hawaii all flew down, and John guys opened up Tabarua to us, and we stayed there. And this was my first time ever to Fiji in 2009, and I think it was 2009, 2010, and it was rad. I was the first guy out at Cloudbreak. My first moment at Cloudbreak was big, windy, 20 feet. I went on the boat with Weiner, and I jumped off, and on my 9.6, and got a wave, big windy wave. So that swell was remember the Scardy wave?
Yeah.
That was that swell. That swell. That was the first one. And so then we're all hooked.
That Scardy wave was huge. That was like a trippy wave for its time. Like, I hadn't seen a stretched out fucking drop like that before. And I didn't even know who Dave Scard was. And people were telling me he's Aussie. I was like, what the fuck? Who is this maniac?
Yeah, no, that was epic. I didn't know who he was either, but now everybody does. So that was sick. So it was like, we got to see that. We got some waves, and then we got a taste, right? We're like, oh, fuck, this place is insane. And these guys have been getting it like that for years, towing it, like, because they can just run on the skis, the boatmen at Tabarua. But no one else had, a lot of us didn't have the bucks to go to Tabarua or chase the swell there or whatever, right? It wasn't open to the public to chase. And then 2011 comes, and all of a sudden, here we go again, big swell. But this time it looks fucking glassy. Looks really good. Looks like light wind, no trades. So we don't know what it was going to do. But we get there with another crew. I don't really know anyone down there yet. So we stay on the mainland this time. And we get a boat out. And the boys went out. I think I was staying with a bunch of people. But they go out the first day. I stay back. I just relax because I'm like, oh, fuck, the big day's tomorrow. I'm just going to chill. And then we go out the next morning. And I have this board I've been working on, Fletcher Chenard. It's like we wanted to just shorten our big wave board, which was like, a lot of guys were riding bigger boards, but this board was a 7.6, but we had a lot of volume in it. I'll just give this a go. I get out there and it just starts pumping. It's just glassy and freaking, you've seen the videos and pictures. Like it's as good as it gets. Like, can't imagine anything better. Unless you're a regular foot and you wanted to ride, but it was blue, sunny, and perfect. And that wave in particular, I just remember being out there with all the boys, and this big thing was just so stretched out. It just looked like we were way too far up the reef. But I had remembered from last time that you want to catch the ones that look like closeouts. And I'm like, fuck, this board's kind of small. I start paddling, and paddle. And then I'm like, oh, fuck. And then I hear Dave Wassley yell, like, go. But he's really, no. And I'm like, fuck, but I started and I just hucked it. I just like one more dig and I just hucked it. And then it was just fucking toe braille on the board blind. And then boom, I just felt compressed like as I got to the bottom, and I leaned into it, and it was just so stretched out and far. I'm like, oh my God. And the board at that point fucking did everything it was supposed to do. It just squirted and it just drove me up into the thing. And then I'm like, I had time to process. I'm like, I could just see the barrel and I could see all the boats. And I just kept trying to pull myself. I was just pulling myself. I kept sliding down. I just kept pulling myself up. And then it started to bend a little bit and I could see what was happening. I see it going up and out. And I knew I had to get up, and I tried to get back up, and I hit that shock wave and it knocked the board out from under me, and I slid on my back. Maybe I should have just kept rolling and body surf, but I slid on my back and I came out into the light, and then I was like, ah! I just remember myself yelling. And I broke the board, and that, it was the wave of my life. So it was the ride of my life, and I loved every second of it. And I don't have any regrets on it. Like, yeah, me and Fletcher, my shaper, we've talked a lot about, fuck, what could we have done different? If I was on a bigger board, I probably wouldn't have been I would have been in earlier and not as deep. If I was on, we changed the rails, we changed the fins, but anyway, ultimately I was in the tube on this beautiful wave, and I'll have that memory forever.
Fucking amazing, mate. That was such a good retelling. And compare it to Pipeline, they're both big lefts on their day. There's little chip-ins available. Obviously Cloud Break's a lot longer, but did growing up surfing pipe kind of prime you well for Cloud Break? I imagine it did. The Hawaiians are so good over there. Fuck.
Yeah, well, 100%. Big barreling lefts. They have that in common. Cloud Breaks obviously are perfect. Has that like razor edge reef, breaks from 2 to 20 plus, whereas pipe is the playing field's a lot bigger, the takeoff's trickier, obviously a lot more people. I think pipe wave flexes out more. I don't know. I feel I hate comparing waves, but I love both of them. I think the year before my accident, Russo I got a really nice wave at Pipeline. Russo got this beautiful backlit picture of it.
Yeah, I've seen it. That's Kelly Slater's like favorite photo of pipe, I'm pretty sure. Is that the one?
Yeah, that's the one.
That one's fucked up.
Favorite photo, but it was you can just see, you've seen pipe, but like there's just so much water and it gets so shallow, and it's pipe is a lifetime commitment for those guys that make it their deal. There's a lot of guys that are really fucking good out there and put a lot of time in out there. I've kind of had my moments in good ways, but there's just so many amazing surfers out there, and I've learned so much just by watching them over the years. I got to surf in the early days in the 90s, and I've surfed all the way through till I'm still out there, man. Still getting it.
Oh, so good.
So, it's going to be weird. Is there going to be a day when I'm like, I don't want to go out anymore. I don't want to surf pipe anymore. I haven't gotten there yet, but I know it's coming one day. But you know what's funny about that? How's this? So I got this opportunity to go to this Waterman's Ball a couple of years ago, and Jock Sutherland, we were sharing a table with Jock Sutherland, absolute legend, pipe surfer. I think he's in his 70s now. And I'm all, hey, Jock, you want me to pick you up? I'll grab you. He's like, no, I'll come pick you up. I'll come pick you up. He always drives around his van, and he brings people smoked fish and avocados, and he makes this avocado pie. He's fucking a legend. And so he's like, I'll pick you up. I'm all, sick. Jock's picking me up, and we're going to town. So I make myself a drink. I'm freaking in the car. And one of the questions I had for him was, we talked the whole way. It was epic. There was traffic, so it slowed us down a bit. And I'm like, so when did you stop surfing Pipeline, Jock? He's like, what do you mean? I surfed the last week.
Yes. What a legend.
He found out it was like 4 foot, and he caught some epic waves on his like big cruiser.
No way. Fuck, I love that. It's so good. And like, if you're going to dedicate your life to that wave, is it an inevitability that you're going to get seriously hurt? Like, is that just part of the price that you pay for a relationship with that joint?
So Jerry called me after the accident. And he got pretty hurt out there. And he told me, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. He's all, but you had one bad one, so you're good for a while. That was his and he told me to read Memoirs of a Yogi by Yogananda. So I read. Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. So how did you come unstuck? Like, what were the circumstances there?
How did I what?
How did you come unstuck? Like, what were the circumstances of the injury? Like, how did it happen?
Oh, dude, I don't know. It was trippy. I just kind of held my line and it just bottomed out on the shallows. The wave itself, I knew it wasn't a good one. It was just had new fins in my board. I just wanted to feel it, but I could catch it. So it let me in and I'm kind of feeling it. I pull into the inside and I had a moment like I could I remember thinking I shouldn't pull in, or maybe like I didn't think it was that good. I just had this weird feeling and I almost kicked out. But I pulled in and it just kind of bottomed out. And I don't know exactly if, what's crazy is that I did have my shoulder hit. So I do think I hit the bottom really hard. Well, I did. But I think the board hit me again. And it might have hit me in the exact same place. Like when you look at the video. So it might have been like a double whammy. I don't know. But it just bottomed out. I went like, I think I just went straight to the bottom. Like it wasn't like I fell and then went over the falls and hit. Well, yeah, probably that's what happened. But it was like I fell and then it just happened so fast, I guess is what I'm saying. I don't even remember it. I just remember seeing the video and I didn't watch the video. I don't watch any of it for a year. The first thing I remember seeing was the angels that work on the beach, the lifeguards all around me. I was on a flat board and I had an oxygen mask on. I remember the ride in the hospital, fucking suck balls. I was puking the whole way and it's a blur, but I was in so much pain and they can't give you any pain medicine. But my wife was working at the time and she's a doctor and she's like, oh, fuck, talk and die. Where like all of a sudden you're talking and die because you're hemorrhage really quick. So she doesn't know if she leaves Wahiawa Hospital and makes it to Queens. She doesn't know if I'm going to die between that time and that time. So she's obviously freaked out. And then we get in the neurosurgeon, Reed Yoshida, who did the surgery, had gone to residency with her. So they knew each other. And it was seamless. I slipped right in, did the thing, went to the ICU, came home. And yeah, I mean, it was obviously life-changing, but I'm so fortunate and lucky to have it life-changing in the good spectrum. Because like I said earlier, like if I didn't have support, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I had a lot of vertigo. I had a lot of headaches. And I started meditating. And I haven't. What's funny? I haven't missed like a morning meditation and stretching yoga since I was able to do it after my accident, like pretty quickly after. Except at Burning Man. We'd party for 24 hours straight and walk around camps and like the schedule's all whacked out, You may party, watch the sunrise and you may sleep from like 1 to 5 and then go back out again. So I had moments, I went to some really cool breath workshops and did some yoga classes, but my normal routine that I've been able to, semi-maintain, which has been really good for me, was a little disrupted at Burning Man, but other things came out of it, So it was actually a nice little break because you don't want to get stuck in shit. You don't want to be like, oh, I have to do this every morning. If I don't, I'm fucked. So it's good. It's good to break you out of that a little bit too.
Mate, that is fascinating. I live an identical life to that. I can relate to so many things you said there, like just in terms of like the routine and structure is critical to rehabilitating brain injuries. But at the same time, you can begin to fucking hate a lot of the shit you have to do, like the meditation, the breath work, the ice baths, the exercise. Like, you know, it can become a bit of a grind. And then as soon as I travel or party or get run down or tired, that's when the kind of head noise and the pain ratchets up, and I start to really buy into the fear that like maybe I'm fucked, maybe I'm gonna get CTE when I'm older, like, and like maybe like all this anxiety is a result of the head injury, and like actually my brain is injured. Like I start to get these like thoughts and voices that I buy into, but it's only once I really remove myself from the structure and routine I've set. But when you, like you said, go to these amazing events, we've done a couple very similar to Burning Man. Now you talk about it, Swellness, you know, all the icons, Tom Carroll, which you've asked, like there, and that somehow when you're in the collective and you're making authentic, heartfelt connections and you're doing that work, even if it's a little bit more sporadic, yoga, breath work and stuff, you can survive and thrive at times. I don't tend to do as well, but yeah, it can supplement the lack of structure, just having that really uplifting environment. Like it's worth doing that. It's worth, even if you're sick or have some injury, it's still worth going to these events and being a part of a massive human energy and ideas like that. You take so much from it.
Yeah, and like you just said, that routine thing, and I think it's more on, not so much on what you're changing the routine for, but actually accepting the fact that you're breaking out of that just for a bit, and then you can, because you can always return to it, but not get stuck. Being flexible, and that allows you to be flexible in other areas of your life, and not so rigid, go flow a little bit. Yeah, and like the things I got out of, yeah, like you said, like the wellness retreats and all that stuff, you pick and choose, but it's just being there and being around like-minded people. And you know, you may not agree with the teacher on every aspect, your body may not get the benefits you're hoping for, but at the same time, if you just release it and just be there and go with that energy, a lot of times that's just enough, you know, like you're there. So that's fun. And yeah, because we do as humans, I think we do we tend to get stuck in ruts, and that's why psychedelics are so rad, and events like this, and that's why fucking surfing is so rad if you're open to, and just being in nature is so rad, because it just connecting to, like going on a hike in the woods. I mean, just being surrounded by, in the mountains, ocean, like just being like, if you allow that space to be what it is and appreciate nature for what it is, then you're already there. And that's why I feel so grateful to be a surfer and get to do it. And yeah, it's special. We live a special, I think as surfers, we're very lucky. I mean, and most of us get it. I think overall surfers are generally pretty rad fucking humans. There's some exceptions that aren't quite there. But for the most part, I mean, if you look across the board, all of our peers, and like, you know, Tom and Jerry, all these guys, and like Sean Thompson wrote a radical book about the sage and the surfer. I don't know if you saw that, but you know, they're very spiritual, and I think it at some point it's inevitable. You're going to get there if you keep surfing and keep immersing yourself, because it has so much to offer, and you just got to be willing. And yeah, and the travel part of surfing, I've been so fortunate to work with Patagonia, and they've been very supportive of my space and what I do, and they've allowed me to rampage the globe. You know, and on that, my carbon footprint, I keep going back to this, I've dove into a lot about carbon footprint and offset lately, and looking at all the solar systems I've installed, so I feel a little less guilty. But the truth is, it's right there, and there's a lot there. There's a lot more accessible now for all of us to dive in and kind of, and be careful too, because sources are, you know, but like just read David Attenborough's book, his new book. He's 94
Yeah.
years old. He's his whole life fucking at BBC. He got to witness what he saw and what he documented and what he did in his lifetime. He's basically coming back and saying, I've seen all this, I've seen the changes, here are the facts, and here's what we can do. It's not, yeah, it's epic.
Epic. Yeah. He put out an amazing film that touches on a lot of what you're talking about, that basically spanned his entire career. Just real quickly, man, you know what the solution is? You know what the fucking, you know what all this is about? This is my take on it. This is so, as you mentioned.
Where are we going?
All right, I'm going to make this like within 30 seconds. I'll try it. So, because I guess growing up digging holes, like if you couldn't get messages across simply on building sites, like they were never going to take off. But my theory is this, right? So we have this exploding global population. That's like kind of the problem, is that there's too many people. And if they all want to live a healthy middle-class life, like there's just not enough resources, right? Now, the reason there's too many people, this is the karma that the West is facing, because birth rates tail off the more wealth and education you have. The richer and better educated you are as a nation, the more your birth rate declines. So we've been stealing the resources of fucking Africa, the Middle East, Southeast Asia for centuries, I guess. And all those places, that's where the birth rates are exploding, because people are still having kids for the social security. You know, it's your own workforce. So if we redistribute wealth to those places, bring up their education and basic wealth standards, they're not gonna, the birth rates are gonna taper off. The global population will stabilize, and there won't be this pressure on the environment. But that's not really a conversation that's happening. The redistribution of wealth from the global north to the global south.
On that, yeah, 100%. Like and empower women. You empower women and give them education, and they have more value in society. They're going to have less children. So
totally,
education, improving lifestyle, and empowering women. In India, there's I was just reading something how there's a lot of the young girls don't go past school when they're 14 years old, and they have chores to do and stuff, and the high schools are too far. So there was an organization that donated like a few 100,000 bicycles to these girls, and there's pictures of these girls now right into high school, and they're finishing out their education. So there is programs in place to help this, and that's true. Like Japan kind of hit there's a trajectory in like what you were talking about, birth rate and death rate, and at that point, and it's these countries that are more impoverished that are having more children because probably, and we are exploiting them. Yes, we are. But there's also programs to buy the forest in Southeast Asia. UN has a program called Reddit, I think it's called, where you can purchase. I mean, it comes with its own problems, but
it cracks me up. There's always this, like, we steal their resources and money and then drip feed it back to them in the form of these fucking bodgy programs. It's like, just give the cunts the money. They know how to spend it. Give them back what you took. And they will stop having 8 kids and 6 kids and a family, and fucking the whole world will right itself. But that's karma, man. You know, karma is just it's there's a deed, there's an action, and there's a reaction to that action. And if the West wanted to steal resources for all this time and continue to have its foot on the throat of the global South, of course, the universe, God, whatever it is going to come up with some way to fuck us over. Like, that's just the law of the universe as I understand it. You know, there's always this karmic, unintended consequence that you can't see at the time when you're ripping someone off, but it comes at some point.
I think there's this focus on moving forward, this great acceleration. I think David calls it Attenborough, but it's this constant focus on the GDP and this growth. We need to remove ourselves from that and concentrate on our people, all the things from poverty to education to healthcare, reliable energy, and focus inward. And then, yeah, like you said, we can't keep moving forward like the way we are, because we're gonna destroy ourselves.
Mm.
There's got to be a shift, a mindset shift, and we and a lot of areas that's happening, but in a lot of areas, like you said, it's not. And I hope we can find the balance, because we're all having. Well, I have kids, and if they have kids, and I guess it, we want to be able to live here on Earth and enjoy it the way we want them to enjoy it the way we did. And yeah, it's scary. It's scary to think about it. That's why it's easier, like we talked about at the beginning of this conversation. It's easier to ignore it, and like perception, like we talked about, like whoever you follow on Instagram, like that's crazy. Like your feed on your social media can dictate the way you think. We're all born very similar, like just beautiful bits of light and energy, and then we're conditioned by our influences and our upbringings and wherever it may be. And nowadays with social media, we're even more contained and more put into these little channels. So breaking out of it, man. I mean, that's why, like, I guess that's why we're talking, right?
Mm. Yeah, and I'm glad we are, because you're talking about breaking out of it and finding new models and solutions. Patagonia is such a big part of that moving forward. I don't think there's a ballsier organization on earth. What Yvonne Chouinard just did with the company, essentially donating it back to the people. Talk to us about your time with Patagonia. Have you spent much time with Yvonne? And what a journey it's been, man. I love their team, yourself, Ramon, and many others. Kimmy Werner, the epic female spearfishing champ. And yeah, talk to us about, I guess, how the relationship started, and who you've become close to over the years there.
Yeah, it's Yvonne's a legend. He's salt of the earth, kind of look at his life. I don't know if you've read his book, Let My People Go Surfing. They give you a little window into his thought process and what he's done in the industry and what he's done as a human, and his love for our natural world, and being able to work with them and all the athletes that they've chosen to kind of work together with them. We have Dan Ross and Belinda Baggs in Australia.
Yep.
And, we have ambassadors all over the globe. Not a ton, but we have some really great humans that kind of span a wide variety of sports. And we have these monthly global kind of team meetings with the surf team, and we get to connect and share stories and talk. And yeah, I feel privileged to be able to represent that brand and share. And I think it's because we share the similar ethos. But Yvonne, he's rad. His son Fletcher is rad, and their whole family, like them. Yeah, I can't say enough good things. Like his son, like, decided to shape surfboards and decided to make. There's a new movie called Foam Dust. Check it out. It's on YouTube. But anyway, it tells us 25-year history of FCD surfboards and their goal to make and their path to make a more sustainable surfboard. And I think down in Melbourne or Torquay, they just opened up a FCD shop, or they're going to start manufacturing the boards for the first time outside of Ventura. They're going to start making them in Australia to ship to Japan and Australia. So like it kind of tells the story of this cool little rootsy company under, at the Patagonia headquarters that started making surfboards. And it was basically Yvonne going, okay, fuckers, you make me a surfboard that's less toxic and I can't break. And they're like, how the fuck did we do that? And so they just went for it, and they started playing with different resins, different material, different stringers, and they've, and I'll let you watch the movie, but it tells this whole story of, and that's just a small sector of this man's, like, genius. Like, I don't know if you heard about, like, for example, cotton. Like they were using cotton in their clothing. And then he's like, you know what? we got to go organic cotton because the pesticides and all this shit is running into the rivers and destroying the soil and blah blah blah. So he made this switch, and it almost sunk the company, but now everybody's doing it. Him and a buddy started 1% for the planet, and that was years ago. And now he's 100% for the planet. Like, he's always trailblazing. They were the first to switch to a B Corp. He's always just a little bit ahead of the curve. He's one of those humans that have just always just been right there. And I think that's what's so neat to have that, and that inspiration, because maybe one day one of us ambassadors will do something like that, you know. And you know, they say to surround yourself with people that inspire you and encourage you to do bigger things. So I think that's, yeah, I'm super grateful to be, and the clothing's rad. Like, everything they do is pretty awesome. And it's a guarantee for life. I mean, not too many companies do that. Yeah, I can't say no. I don't want to be Patagonia out here, but I can't say no.
It's amazing. It's genius. It's genius. And I mean, his story is just remarkable, you know, like, what was he, like some kind of mechanic, like just like a typical kind of blue collar guy who had his passions in fishing, surfing, and made a quid as a mechanic. And from that point on, like, you know, he was just an artisanal guy who understood the mechanics and fabrics and had a passion that didn't rely on material wealth. You know, that was never his passion. He was never about that. So kind of makes sense. Like, he really is just trying to free up the time to follow his passions, i.e. surfing, fishing, climbing. And that means, fuck yeah, we don't need much money for that shit, man. And you live a happier, healthier life. And that's been his kind of signature, and his big influence is like, taking,
he still doesn't fly first class, and he still has a shitty old set Subaru.
The Subarus, they're so
dude, he living out of a Subaru climbing, and he still has the Subaru. Like, he doesn't give a fuck about money or material. He just, like, it all felt like it just channeled through the right dude. Like, it's pretty rad. Like, he's a dirtbag climber. He's like us, you know, like surfer, climber, and he just figured out a way to help save the planet. Really, like, that's where all his resources go. Like, those guys, they do so much, like, that you don't even know about. Land preservation, helping nonprofits, and it's pretty incredible. It's inspiring,
man. It really is, and not a moment too soon. Far out. Can't express my gratitude for that company and Yvonne anymore. Mate, talk to us about growing up in Hawaii. I'm always fascinated by this. You know, having spent a bit of time with Jamie and kind of his crew, and understanding what he had to go through growing up there on the North Shore. Like, it was not a super friendly place for a non-native Hawaiian at times, for him anyway. And some of his mates, they just had to fucking fight a lot. I can kind of imagine that. What was it like for you though? You grew up on the east side, right? Of Oahu. Yeah. And was it like, yeah, how did you navigate Hawaiian culture growing up there, and making your mark at Pipeline too?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I grew up on the east side. We had until about 7th grade. I just went to public school on the east side, and yeah, we had that. There was, like, you know, there's always fights, but there's fights at every school. It wasn't super bad where I was. We had some really shitty waves, but we had a special little wave on a reef outside of an area that you can only access by boat. So at a very young age, I learned to operate little boats, little dinghies, and go out and anchor and surf this little left-hand slab. And it would work when the trade winds were up, which was, you know, 75% of the time. When it was nuking trades, it was good. And it was the slabby left. So that was kind of where we got a lot of practice. And growing up in Kailua, I didn't have a license, or until I got a license, I had to get rides. And then when I was 16, I got a truck, and we started driving in the North Shore. But I got to go to the high school called Punahou, which is one of the best high schools in the nation. and it's where Obama went, and we're a bunch of
No
Jerry,
way.
Dave Walton, a bunch of people, Fred Hemmings, Fred Van Dyke,
Wow.
bunch of surfers that you've heard of have gone there, and it's a really special school, and so I was the one kid out of 400 that didn't go to college. I fucked off and I bought a ticket to a Circle Pacific ticket right when I got to high school. I'm like, Mom, Dad, I'm out of here. I bought a ticket and I went to Tahiti, Rapa Nui, Chile, Mexico, Hawaii. And I was going to go for a little bit. I didn't know. I ended up being gone for a year and ended up living on Rapa Nui for 7 months. Fell in love 4 times and
Mate.
surf when I was 18 and learned how to speak Spanish and landed in Chile. A dude, I know we segued from your original question, but this is good.
No, it's amazing.
This was before, obviously before iPhones. This was in the 90s. And this dude showed up and he showed me these pictures of the north of Chile, these slabby waves. I don't know if you've heard of like El Bue or Colegio and Arica Desert, the North Atacama Desert. And I'm like, dude, that looks sick. He lived up there. I got to go there. So I went and visited him. And while I was there surfing these waves, I went up to Machu Picchu and did all that on a bus with a dude from Rapa Nui. We went together. And then this other guy showed me this picture of the south of Chile. He's like, check this out. And it was like this perfect point, Portecillo, back when there was no houses, nothing down there. And I was like, I got to go there, but I'm fucking broke dick. I have no money. So I ended up flying home, working a bit. And that sent me on. I went back to Chile, hitchhiked down to the south of Chile, and met some dudes down there, and did another long run, and met Ramon.
No way! You met him on that first trip.
Second trip when I come back.
Yeah.
So but in the 90s, I had no money. A dude I met on Rapa Nui, Matias Lopez, a Chilean, he's holding a contest at Punta de Lobos, the big left, and this was our first big contest. It was 1998. I had an 8.0 Ken Bradshaw gun, and I rock up. I'm like, how much is it to enter? He's like, it's $20. I'm like, dude, I don't have $20. He's all, but I knew him. He's like, if you make any money, just pay me back. So I entered it. I ended up winning, and I got $500. Paid him back. I think I did, and I spent almost all of it at the disco that night buying everyone drinks. And then we fucked off to Portecillo or something, and that's when I met Ramon and Diego and Christian Morello, all these young Chileans, that the first generation of professional Chilean surfers. I met them when they were all like 14, and that next winter, 16, 18, however old they were, I'm like, while I was there, I'm like, hey Ramon, you should come out to Hawaii. So he shows up. I rent a spot on the North Shore, my first in 1999, 2000 winter, up at Pupukea in this place we called Third World, because it was just all jungly and there was no battle. It was just fucking. And Ramon shows up with Diego Medina and this other dude with $100 between the three of them, and they stay the whole winter. And right when they get there, I take Ramon out to Waimea that first morning. I give him a board and we paddle out together for the first time. And then fast forward, I think 10 years, we're surfing in the Eddie Aikau together. I think he's still writing for Quicksilver, and then that whole thing imploded, and I was able to put in a good word and get him on the Patagonia team. And since then we've surfed in 3 Eddies together.
Wow, man, I love that. I love that story. Yeah, Ramon's one of the most fascinating characters in modern surfing. The guy who put Chilean surfing on the map, got that crazy one at Cloudbreak in 2012, like pretty much the first psycho make of the day. And, obviously has set the standard at El Bui, and, fuck, man, he's just such a, what is he, like the son of a fisherman, like very humble, kind of salt of the earth upbringing, right?
Yeah. He grew up right there. He's freaking rad. He's super funny too, super sarcastic. Chileans are funny. They'll give you nicknames and just take the piss out of you all day. Probably similar to us Australians, but they'll just fucking go all day long. They won't stop. They'll just fucking go.
So good,
But
man.
he's rad. He's fun, and we've been friends since then. And back to the last big that tow wave he got. So remember the tow wave at fucking the wave of all waves at Fiji at Cloudbreak just recently. Not recently, but the one that the last big swell at Cloudbreak, we had seen those. So fast forward after the one I got, that Bluebird wave, we go to the Volcom contest one. Ramon got that good. That was 2014, I think.
Right.
And he got that long one, like kind of like the one you're talking about.
Yeah, it comes across the foam ball. Yeah.
Yeah. So you got that one, and then the two mutant waves come in. I paddle for one, thinking I'm like actually gonna catch it, but there was like looking at the video, there was no way it broke wind. And Healy swam through it.
Oh yeah. Well, you were paddling for that, trying to get into it.
Paddle for the first one. Oh yeah, you can see it. It lifts me, and I actually thought I was in it.
Wow.
Well, this is it, the one we've been waiting for. I'm a 92, and I'm like, ah. And then all of a sudden, it just like blows me back, and I turn around, and the next one is just as big, and I see fucking Healy. I'm the closest one to Healy. He's right there, and I look at him. Wow, fuck! I'm glad I'm not that guy, because he was like, I'm barely paddling up the corners, looking down. I see him like take his leash off and swim through it. And so we saw those two waves, and it was like, oh fuck, that was it. And I looked at the video. I'm like, dude, there's no way. Even if I would have had to been so much farther under it than I thought I was to get it. And so that next swell came, that big one where Makua got that big wave, and it was more of a tow swell. It was kind of jumbly, but a lot of guys paddled. And then me and Ramon towed in the morning, and I think we paddled, and then I'm like, dude, I talked to a freaking sponsor. I talked to these guys. There's probably gonna be a rogue wave. There's gonna be a wave with the tide dropping like the ones we saw. And so I'm Ramon, it's your turn. Do you want to do this? We'll wait out the back. And so we went, and we literally waited out the back maybe 4 or 5 hours. And like Ramon's like, let's go in, and I was just ignoring him. We're calling on the radio. Is it good? And I'm like, and that point the sun's like, fuck, dude, the sun's going down, but like we're all in. Like we just put everything on the table now. Like we can't go back and grab our paddle boards and try and get something. Like if it's gonna come, it's one of those moments where like you like have that feeling, or I do at least, like if I leave, the wave's gonna come.
Yeah.
I'm committed now. I've already been out here hours, and then I remember one other tow team came out. It was some dude with it's like a Jared White came out with some other dude, and then they were sitting next to us, and we had drifted pretty far out, and then we'd go in, drift out because the wind, we kept going in and out. And Ramon's laying on the sled. I'm just sitting there looking out to sea, just fucking trying to like concentrate. And then all of a sudden, it was weird. It was like you could just feel it. The ocean just went like it was just one wave too. It was like, and it was like this. It was just a quick decision. And I'm like, Ramon, this is it. You know what? Fucking grabs it, fucking and I'm going in, and it's like blind because we're pretty far out. And I'm going in, and then I can see the reef, and I can see the crowd over to the left, and the boats are beyond that way. And I'm going in, and it's dark water because it goes from deep to shallow real quick. And you can see the color change now of the reef. It just gets really light and green. And then I know it's like on, and I kind of let him in. And I look, and he's going, and then that was it. For me, that was my part. And I go out, and I go around the crowd, and I see everyone like looking and yelling. And then I start to head towards the boats, and then I just see fucking all the boats just go fucking nuts and fucking just screaming. And he kicks out right into fucking Kelly Slater was there again to see that, like, he was right there. It was pretty rad. Like that one, I got chicken skin again, because that moment was like, it had been like, years since, I think it was 2000, whatever year we said the Volcom was, that we saw those crazy waves.
Yeah.
Like, are we ever gonna get a chance? And then boom, we got it. And it was like, I mean, for me, I got the wave too, because it was like, it was part of it, but it was our connection, me and Ramon's, from fucking, meeting in Chile in the 90s. And it all kind of like came. And then, I mean, you've seen that wave. just Google the Ramon Navarro's tow wave at Fiji. And so that was the wave of the swell, the wave of the day. And then we're done. Then we went and drank and celebrated.
I
And,
love it.
I think we
Man.
went back out the next morning. We didn't drink too much actually because I knew there might be a window in the morning. And we got out there and we beat everyone out and we had a little window and then I think everyone went home. But we were doing a brag summit in Chile. So get this. I just forgot about this. So brag, that organization with the ocean safety with Brian
Okay.
Kilana.
Right. Yeah.
So we teach ocean safety and we do these summits. So we had planned one in Chile. I think it was our first big one or second big one in Chile. We've done a few now down there. And it was my first time my wife had been to Chile and my little baby. And I'm like, hey, we're doing this brag summit, babe. Do you want to come? She's like, oh, whatever. So the baby flies for free because it's under 2. And I was going to do it with Greg and Ramon. And we fucking land there. Greg's on our flight. We rent a car. We drive south. And as we're like driving south, Greg's just over here on his phone, just kind of tweaking. He's like, fuck, dude. It's kind of getting bigger. The swell is looking pretty good. I'm like, because usually they like get big and then they kind of go under and around New Zealand.
Yeah.
They don't always go up, So we're like, and they start 10 days out. They look. So we're like, oh, whatever. We're here. We're committed, man. We're going to do this. Doesn't matter. Let's not think about it. Yogi style, So we're trying not to think about it. And fucking, we get down to my buddy's farm in the south and he has no reception except on the top of this hill. And Greg Long is like walking up there like every hour, like trying to like read. And I'm like, dude, I got my wife and my kid. I'm like, dude, we're here, man. Let's just fucking. And then it's starting to get like real. A couple of days on the farm, we're surfing, eating. It's epic. My little kid's having a blast. She's like 1.5, young, but she's still enjoying it. We found one of those big Amanita muscaria mushrooms. I have this picture of her holding this, the Alice in Wonderland mushroom.
Yeah, the red and white ones. Yeah.
She's like holding this mushroom that's like it's bigger than her whole head.
No way! Wow.
Yeah. So we're like, okay, well, we need to go up. We need to leave the farm. We need to go to Punta de Lobos, where we're gonna have this safety summit. This really cool place called Hotel Alaya, and we get there, we drive up there. And now the swell is real. Now it's 3 days, like 4 days away, I think. And like it's like everything's looking like it's gonna be a fucking monster. And so Greg had just had like a hernia surgery or something. So he wasn't 100, even though he's just frothing on the forecast, like more than I was. And he's like, you know what? Me and Ramon are like, fuck, we kind of gotta go. And like he's like, okay, you guys go. I'll hold down the summit. I'm like, babe. She's like, yeah, just go. So I changed her ticket. She just flew home by herself after but I left like that night.
Wow.
And Greg pulled down the summit. We did a live conference like we're doing now, this live kind of whatever feed or whatever. We did a live call with the class after he got the wave. He's on the front page of the newspaper. He's like, welcome home as a hero. Ramon Navarro gets the wave of the century, like on the front page. It was so because we like you talking about karma, like there was this thing. I don't know. It was just funny how it all happened, but it all worked out. So that's another chapter of Cloud Break. Yeah,
I love that. Yeah, because I mean, ultimately, your surfing exploits is what led you to have the influence to be able to deliver those summits. So, of course, you're going to chase your passion, and which is big waves at Cloud Break, and that's only going to deliver more publicity to your summit. So, yeah, kind of, it's all karmically in sync. Man, what about?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, well, I was going to say, like, what about that 2012 swell, man? Like that thing was bizarre. Like, what are your memories of that day?
I had a lot of waves I didn't make, like I was too deep. I had some bombs. I had one really good one that I did make. I think the biggest memory for me was I'd met my buddy Yuri down there, and I told him, hey, there's another big swell. So I kind of helped organize, like, it was from Kala Alexander to Kalani Chapman to like, we had like this group of like Hawaiians that flew down, and I organized these 2 boats with Yuri, or Yuri helped organize. We all stayed together. at Smuggler's Cove, this shit hole little backpackers in Nandi Beach. But
Smuggler's
it's epic.
Cove.
Yeah,
Okay, no,
Smuggler's Cove. And it's
no,
it's
no,
like
no, yeah, no
a
prizes for guessing.
backpacker. It's a backpackers, but it's like every night it's like pressing the refresh button. You just get this new busload like
Yeah.
every day. So it's pretty fun.
I wonder how they got the startup capital to start that business. Fucking hell, Smuggler's Cove, classic.
Smuggies. So anyway, we stayed there and we took the boats out, and it was the Volcom contest, right? This is the one you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
The Volcom. Yeah, so it was a Volcom contest, but we all knew it was gonna get too big. I mean, like everybody, we knew it was gonna get huge. So we're all just frothing. We're like just we're all on the boats. They're having the contest in the morning, and everyone's like waxing up their boards. It's like all these dudes that came down to surf like the bigger waves, you know. And so eventually they do end up calling the contest because there's a set that comes through. It just breaks top to bottom at the back, and everyone's like, "Wow, let's go!" So they called it, and we all paddled out, and it was kind of cool because they had the safety already going, and they had a commentary, and then Dave comments the whole day, and then he paddles out and gets the bomb of the day. That was epic in like 30 seconds.
Mate,
So
you talk about cosmic karmic shit. Like having him on the mic during that swell event was him and Slater just fucking talking us through it as we're watching the craziest shit anyone has ever seen go down in real time. And then the guy paddles out on his fucking 10-2 and just gets the end game pit. It was psycho, so classic, one and done. What a legend.
Yeah, no, that was amazing. So he got his reward for sitting out the whole day. Just like boom. I put in some hard hours. I got some wipeouts, got one good one, got a bunch of closeouts, and I actually ended up getting 2 covers from that swell.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
That's mental. And what about the beatings? Like what's going on in one of them? That must be the fuck. Is it as violent as you imagine?
I have this heartbeat kind of ecogram board design that I didn't choose it. My glasser did. Sammy, this amazing glasser, Sammy Sueño for FCD surfboards. He's just a guru, and he'll choose different graphics. But he started to run with this like kind of like a EKG thing, and there's this classic picture that got run somewhere on. I've seen it. It's been floating around, but it's like my board's tombstoning, and it's just like half of the heartbeat sticking out.
That's so good. Yeah.
Beep. Beep. Yeah. This I think this swell we had vests. I think we were wearing like just the impact vest, not like a full. And the 2011 one, we had nothing. I just had a white T-shirt.
Yeah.
And then now, fast forward, even on these 6 to 8 foot days, I was wearing like a little vest. I mean, I'm in a different headspace now with my injury. The vanity is gone. I don't give a fuck. I'm not gonna if it's gonna allow me to come home and see my kids, then I'm gonna do it. Like I'm gonna if it's dangerous, and I think it comes down to that feeling, right? Like if you're feeling it's dangerous, and if you're sitting on the boat going, "Oh, should I wear it or shouldn't I?" Probably should wear it. That's my mindset now. I'm talking about like the vest or the helmet or whatever. I mean, I've seen enough head injuries, and I've had enough friends die where surfing that yeah, and that's a whole nother conversation. But I mean, you go to the ski slopes now, and every single person up there is wearing a helmet. I'm not saying that it's ever going to happen in the surf world, but I think there are spots like Pipeline and stuff where probably a pretty good idea to wear some head protection. But it's everyone's choice, right?
Absolutely. And back to Pipe, man, like, yeah, talk us through making your mark out there. Like, the 90s was gnarly, man. Like, that kind of the Hui crossover into the wolf pack, no camera phones. So like there's the shit that goes down is just no one's capturing it. Fuck all cops around really, like compared to now. So
it was the Wild West for sure. Those late 90s, mid 90s. I mean, all of that time before me even, but that time was the time I got to experience. It was a lot different than it is now, that's for sure. Braden Diaz was freaking, yeah, it was fun to be part of. And I can't really say I've made much of a mark out there. I've got some good waves, but it's been a fun ride. It's been like it's like we said earlier, it's kind of you build it's a lifetime relationship with that wave. It was fucking I think I had a quote in Surfer magazine a long time ago when they did something on the Pipeline Posse. I think it said something like pipe will make or break you in a single wave. No, it's pipe has attracted some of the craziest motherfuckers on the planet, and it will make or break you in a single wave, or something like that. And I read that because I had it up on my barn in the on the farm, in the bathroom on the wall. There's a picture, and it's true. It's a place where careers are made and broken, and people die. It's heavy, man. It's a heavy spot. It's a lot of respect. You got to have a lot of respect for it, and it nobody's immune to the dangers. Some guys seem like they are. Like some guys have gone forever and just crushed it, but for most people, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And I got mine pretty bad, but I'm still here, luckily. And then it comes down to like, do I keep going back? And I don't know. I think it's more. I don't want to say it's for the ego, because I don't feel like I have anything to prove out there anymore. I feel like I can go out and not get a wave, but I feel like there's still a challenge, and there's a special relationship. I mean, I've had people ask me, "Are we really going to go back out there, dude? You got a family now, man. What the fuck?" Not in that tone, but I know that's what some people might be thinking. And my wife doesn't question it, which is rad, because she knows. But yeah, I mean, and I'm sure there's similar struggles in parts of people's lives all over the world, in different categories. But mine is like, how long do you keep doing it? I'm really stoked I got that beautiful wave. I could just end it right there. Well, who knows? Maybe I will.
Yeah.
And then the winter comes and it's good and going off. I think as long as I'm feeling sharp and healthy and I have a helmet and
yeah,
I mean, why not?
As long as if you want one, like, it really comes down to that, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's you want to just be out there. You're not doing it for anyone but yourself.
Yeah.
And you're just having fun, like just being like. And honestly, I'll go down there and just watch it on the ski with Russo. We'll go out and fuck off and surf some other waves, and we'll pull in and just sit there and watch it. And it's just so mesmerizing. It's one of the coolest things ever, just to be there.
Yeah.
There's so many good kids now too. Oh my gosh. Like they're just ripping. Like I can't even, like they're just way better than any of us ever were.
Yeah.
So
some of those Japanese groms in the backdoor shootout were blowing my mind. They were like 16 years old. I can't imagine they fucking had any waves out there, just sending it and knifing it, pulling it off. It's mental.
Dude, it's funny you say that, because I spent a lot of time chasing typhoons with Kin-san in Japan over the years, and I've gotten to surf some heavy fucking waves with those guys.
True.
And they charged, dude. Like they've been like, there was like the kid Kato that won the backdoor shoot, or when he won the wave or the whatever. I got to surf with him in this left slab at down in the Ishigaki. This like anyway, this crazy island, this crazy wave. And he was literally like taking off on these waves I didn't want anything to do with at all. And it was backside. I was like, holy fuck. It was like in front of the tide of drain, and it was just dry reef. And they're just like, I'm like, dude, tide's going down. It's not like there was no margin for error. So yeah, so I got to surf with a bunch of these kids, and I think their mindset, and then it was so cool to see him apply that to Pipeline, and years later he did really well in the backdoor shootout. I think he won something. He won Wave of the Winter is what he won at.
Yeah, he got a 12. I think he got that. It was like, fuck, the thing looked like it was 20 foot when it stood up. It was so big, and he just dropped out of the sky and got that crazy one. And it makes sense that they have these waves back in Japan that are super technical, because yeah, like it can't be happening in a vacuum, this kind of ability and talent. It's
Oh,
they've been
they
like the
have the way.
standouts.
They definitely have the waves, but you also have to apply it, right? You have to take a lot of kids, like, and then there's nerves, there's everything. But he was able to. I think the first couple of years, I think he finally fell into his potential. And there's a bunch of them coming up. Yeah, they got great waves. They got insane waves.
Crazy, man. Fuck, I'm just looking at like your stats from your career. It's been a crazy ride, man. Like you've won a handful of big wave events, runner up in the 2011 Big Wave World Tour. Yeah, like, and then all the time, you've been working like a working class guy, installing solar panels in between your trips and your big wave exploits. Yeah, and raising a family, man. It's a lot. And managing to go to Burning Man several times and snowboarding in Alaska and shit. It's fucking mental.
Yeah, man, busy, but staying busy, but staying here, and like family now is first, and I get a lot of invites to do cool shit, and I try and do it when I can. My wife's super rad, so she just holds down the. I'm learning Hawaiian now later in life. It's funny because I grew up here, but now I'm being married to a Hawaiian girl, and both our kids are going through the immersion program, so
Yeah.
they speak Hawaiian.
Wow.
And so I have class once a week. I've been like a couple of years now, like doing classes and speaking with them. I see the writing on the wall. If I don't learn because they can speak it all day to each other now. I mean, not like in depth, like conversations like we're having, but like, hey, we need to go here, get your shit ready, or whatever, but it's pretty fun, and to see them connect to their culture that way, and look at the ocean, and see, and the wind, and see all the different words that the Hawaiians had for different areas of the reef, different areas of the ocean, different parts of the wave, the different winds, names of the wind for every direction. Like,
Mm.
there's that connection there, that to see it through the lens of to see Hawaii through the lens of their native language has been freaking staggering, like incredible. Like, it's been there's been so many moments where I'm, holy shit, they have a name for this, like, and then to see the kids get to go through that, it's pretty special. So that's kind of a new chapter, learning Hawaiian.
Love that. That's fascinating, man. Yeah, because of course the language is born out of those islands, so they're gonna understand and know shit about those islands that there's just not words in the Western language for.
Yeah, it's like the Inuits have, like, 100 words for snow or whatever. They'll have 100 words for the wind and the thing. So it's crazy, and it's cool to see that now. It's so much later, but I feel fortunate to have, like, I'm not Hawaiian. Like, my ancestry comes from probably Scandinavia, but like growing up here and being connected now, married to a Hawaiian girl, I think it's really cool. It's really fun to share that and support that with them, and exercises my mind, my brain a bit too.
Mm.
Which, as you know from your head injury, it's like good to have shit.
Yeah,
Good to slow
learning.
it down, but also good to have stuff.
Yeah, you have to continue to learn and exercise new parts of your brain. And I was actually what I was going to ask you is, what were the real key components of your rehab? Like, so you mentioned meditation, yoga, breath work, and psychedelics are pretty handy for the brain. It appears like it's definitely part of my protocol is microdosing and LSD from time to time. Yeah, what have been your kind of main healing protocols?
Um, yeah, I was just slowing it down, man. I think I got a lot of that through just breath work, and the subsequent benefits of breath work, um, slowing down the thought process, and then with that really came less headaches, and less vertigo, and being in touch with myself rather than living in just thoughts. Being able to take, I mean, just any time of the day, just taking one deep breath, like, boom, like relearning things, and then spending time. I spent 1 year without traveling. It was funny. It was like 2019, 2019 New Year's Eve, and then we rolled into COVID. So I had a forced quarantine with my head injury, but the world was on forced quarantine. So I got to see this whole thing unravel. But I had this really protected space without even the ability to go out of it. So it was like this double whammy where I was home from the injury and then home from COVID on top of that. And it gave me the time to heal. It gave me time to I got to see my first daughter. I was only home about 6 months of her first year. I didn't get to see her go through all these transitions. I think I was on a tear. And then my second daughter, Hakea, I got to see her. I was with her for a whole year. I got to see her crawl, walk, and talk. The whole thing. It was fucking magic. Yeah. So that was a big part of my healing process.
Yeah.
But,
motivating. Must be motivating to continue to do the work and stay on that healing path to make the most out of your child's life. I mean, that's spirituality in my definition is getting yourself into good shape so you can show up better for the people around you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I didn't do any alcohol, any nicotine, any marijuana, any drugs. I did nothing for one whole year. And then I had my buddies, Greg, who passed away in Alaska, his memorial in Aspen. And we flew up there and I was like, fuck, haven't done any drugs. I don't know if I'm just gonna, just go to this, but it's a rowdy crew, full. That's what, it was full on. And I ended up doing every drug all at once. And I survived it. I survived the weekend and I didn't short circuit. So I'm like, okay, I'm good now. I can get back into, but now, now it's everything. It was like, I didn't need to do any of it. I did it. And I lost that, like, maybe before I'd have some beers every night or whatever. Now there's like, I can go a week without anything and then maybe I'll dive in. I learned to look at drug use differently because I learned that we don't need it, but I think it's great to experiment in moderation with any of that, as long as you're capable of like bouncing back. So yeah, I learned quite a few things, Chad, from my injury. I'm sure you have, but
yeah. Hearing you talk about it's helping me kind of validate some of my own lessons, because you don't get to talk to people who've had these experiences very often. There's not that many people who've necessarily had them, but what you're saying there is really interesting, just about when you can put your body into that really calm state. It knows how to heal itself if you can cultivate the environment and conditions for it. And that's all you have to do. And sitting still and focusing on your breath, that's literally all you have to do. You slow the thoughts down and suddenly, the headaches and the vertigo disappears. Amazing, man. Amazing.
No, that's it. That's all you got to do is breathe, man.
Yeah. It's funny how like conscious breathing is such a terrifying prospect to a lot of people who
I never done this in my life, and then recently I was like, you know what, it's just small the other day, I'm gonna see if I can just breathe from my nose from the beach, go out longboard and come in the whole session. And I never even thought about doing it. I was like, if I'm sitting out waiting for big waves, I'd take my time and breathe, but like I don't necessarily breathe through my nose 100%, well, not nearly 100% of the time. And I know the benefits of it. I've read James Nestor's book. I've read a bunch of books on breath and whatever. But so I was like, I'm going to breathe through my nose the whole surf session. And it was this concentrated breath, and it was really quite spiritual. It was really quite fun. It was the waves were small, but it kind of changed my perspective again, and it was fun to try it.
Yeah, no, I'm all about the nasal breathing after reading that book. It fucking blew my mind, literally. And man, talk to us about I know you got to go, but psychedelics, man. Like, what are some of your favorite memories, or like how helpful have these compounds been, or in changing that lens or perspective? Have they played a part in any surfing experiences? I'm such an advocate for them in the right settings. Set and setting obviously has to be gotten right, otherwise they can punish you. But yeah, what's been your experience with these compounds?
Yeah, I think maybe some early years there might have been some abuse, more on with the directive of having a grand old time with your mates, just taking a bunch of them and going through some difficult trips and challenges, and maybe things come up within your group of friends, maybe one friend like experiencing something different. And I knew there was this learning curve with me personally with experimentation, where I realized it's not necessarily quantity, and it's not necessarily, well, it's not about the focus is not about having a great time. That's a byproduct. Like the focus is, it became not I don't want to say focus, but the experimentation with the psychedelics, like we talked about, allowed you to change your perspective. And if it just by taking a little bit, that's great. And there's these ayahuasca things in San Pedro, and I've done all that. Not all of it, but I've done a bunch of it. A lot out there. But peyote, LSD, mushrooms, and different types of mushrooms, and different settings. Like you said, it's important to be in the right setting. So you can go like now, there's places you can go experiment ayahuasca with like an elder or a guru and help guide your path. It's becoming much more popular in the States. My friend's sister is a psychedelic therapist, and she can prescribe you and treat you with ketamine, which isn't a psychedelic, but she can treat you with these other drugs, and she can give you mushrooms, or she can give you MDMA, or she can give you LSD. And I think there's a bunch of merit in that, especially if you're not feeling comfortable and it's your first time. But if you feel comfortable, and my recommendation is always just start with be in a safe, fun setting, with good friends, or if you're by yourself, just it's important to feel comfortable, and then start small. And if you want to go bigger, and break down more barriers, then it's there for you. It's just and talk to friends and ask their experiences, and get some beta. Read some books. I mean, Timothy Leary and Ram Dass, those guys were,
Yeah.
those guys.
The Psychedelic Experience, the book they've written that based on the Tibetan Book of the Dead, which I've read both of them. That's a great book. That's basically the fucking ducks nuts in psychedelic protocols is in that book. Sick book.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and then yeah, I mean, for me at Burning Man, we got into it. We did all the things, and it's not necessarily in the moment. I've realized it's after the fact. It's after the trip. It's maybe days later. There's something comes later. I feel like in the moment is great, and if maybe there's an aha moment during your trip when the sun like comes out of the clouds and a rainbow appears or whatever. Like there's obviously like really intensified moments. But for me personally, I like some of the more tangible, like graspable, like takeaways have come the next day, a week later, a year later even. I had a trip in South America, up in the Valle Elqui, up in the Kohl Valley, where we ate the belladonna flower, datura.
Wow.
We made this, and it was about 24 hours of, but there's a whole story I can tell you about that experience.
Yeah.
But these visions and things that I have still not forgotten from that experience. I mean, this was on the extreme side of psychedelics, where you actually detach. There was never a moment during that trip where I was like, oh man, I'm high. It was like on, and then it was woke up in a field. But that in less doses, you get little things like it just opens a little bit, and then maybe 2 days later you're like, holy fuck, that was, and a thought or something might just come out, and you're giving your I mean, what do they say, we only use 10% of our minds. You're giving you're giving yourself access to more, and but you can also access that through meditation. You can access that creative source just by sitting still, and it may be harder because your minds are so busy, and psychedelics may help you get there too. And you can access it by just sitting out in the lineup by yourself and watching a sunrise. Like you're going to access it from all different areas, and psychedelics are just a way to help you just, it's kind of cliche, but open your mind, like, and that's what it is.
Yeah, man, it's so true. And what you're saying, like, yeah, the integration is the most important part a lot of the time from taking psychedelics. Like, you get these epiphanies, these revelations, these thoughts, and it's then up to you to integrate them over the coming days and weeks, months, years, whatever. But it's interesting, like, meditation will get you to that same place in a more gentle way, but it will take longer. Whereas psychedelics tend to kind of shoot you out of a cannon into that same experience. And there's often a bit of discomfort and suffering there in the transition from being in the sober egoic mind into that dissolved ego. But that's where the magic happens. And that's a metaphor for life. Like that nothing that is valuable in life is ever earned without a bit of hardship or suffering. That's like the weird fucking catch-22 of the universe. Like all the good shit in life comes via leaning into a bit of hardship or suffering. And this really applies to surfing too, and particularly your relationship with Pipeline. When I think about it, like I heard a guy say recently, this rugby league player, he was talking about how maybe what gives us meaning in life is being in love with something that might kill us. And that's where the meaning is. Like, so yeah, doing something that could potentially kill you, like surfing, such a classic example of that, where, far out, man, it gives us so much meaning and connection with nature and exhilaration. But that exhilaration couldn't exist if it weren't for the big waves or sharks or being in nature. So like that balance.
But that too is a relative perspective, because somebody that just started surfing may experience those moments, at the same time. We've just been doing it so long. We got to go just like, I don't know. It's been like, it's all relative too, that experience, that like you can have those moments for your first time surfing. Like you can have a moment that we have, but it takes us further in our sport to get those moments further up. I don't know. I don't know. You following me?
Yeah, well, it's like the closer, 100%. Like it's like it's all relative, but like the closer to death you get, the more alive you feel, because you have 100%. To pay attention, man, because you might fucking die if you don't. So like, but for the person who's just starting surfing, maybe they're a suburbanite fucking slob and they're out there on their soft top, but they never thought about going surfing because they're terrified of sharks and riptides and whatever. But for them, that 1 foot, there's quite a lot of danger and challenge in that 1 foot dribble. Whereas for yourself, like it's a gradient, like for yourself, like you're not going to feel challenged by those conditions. So yeah, but there's something in that, like that, if you just live in comfort your whole life, you'll get sick. The body, we're not designed for that, man. We're designed for discomfort and the elements and wind and rain and cold.
Living on the edge, man.
You got to. You actually have to. Otherwise, you'll be fucking understimulated, and that just manifests in anxiety, like the understimulated body, as Wim Hof says. So, you'll end up miserable and doped on benzos.
Live in a box. And that, you don't have to be doing things that, like, I mean, there's the adrenaline side, what you're talking about, and that like addiction to living right there and doing things that almost would kill you. And I think there's a personality type, but there's also people that can experience that same thing through other shit, the other parts of their lives, and maybe psychedelics, and like there's but that you do have to get outside, and I totally agree that like those moments when you're those life or death moments are some of the most powerful moments in existence.
Mate, it's a good point, because by sitting in meditation, I went to India recently, saw the Dalai Lama, met a ton of Tibetan monks, and what those guys are doing every day is meditating to the point where they are literally watching themselves die in the form of their ego. They're like, so they're having that psychedelic experience, like a macro dose on the fucking daily. And that is living, man. That's terrifying. But yeah, there's so much growth that happens in that space, and they're not even leaving their little dojo.
Yeah, that's freaking radical. Yeah, I heard those guys can like sit out in the snow and just heat the sheet up, just by breathing, heat their bodies up and stay. Like, it's crazy what you can do with. What's crazy what the human body can do when you start to explore it. When you start to explore it in other cultures, and
Yeah.
and the breath work and the mind and body in harmony together. And like, as I feel like as Westerners, we're so new to it, but there's so much still to learn. That's cool that you went up there and saw that.
Yeah, up to Dharamshala, man. It's yeah, I feel like Western culture has been barking up the wrong tree for hundreds of years, and all we've really managed to come up with is materialism and death and slaughter. Whereas, like, you know, when we're on our knees,
we got surfing
and solar panels. No, we don't. The Hawaiians come up with that, didn't they?
Why is it? But we've adopted it.
Yeah, we've adapted it. We've turned it into an industry and capitalized off it. But yeah, man, it's crazy what you're saying. It just blows my mind, the fact that there's these old cultures with these ancient methods, and if you want to live the fucking happiest life you can, it simply comes down to meditation, breathwork, yoga, and nature. And all them things are free, man. You don't have to go fucking conquer some country, enslave people. You don't have to do any of that shit. Like, you'll be the most content and happy man alive.
And that comes back to our conversation. We need to stop focusing on growth and come back to what you just said. Everybody does. And then we'll be able to fix our world problems and slow down the destruction of our very fragile little planet in the middle of the universe. That's all we got.
Love it, man. That's a perfect place to leave it. In Yvonne we trust. Come on, mate. Do something. Sure. He's done plenty.
Yvonne's the man. Yeah, brother. Great connecting finally. Appreciate the energy we finally made.
Yeah, man. Fucking earth. There'll be thousands and thousands of people will listen to this, and that's a great thing, because yeah, the more of these conversations we have and the more we normalize.
Quick, I'd like to plug my Legacy Energy Foundation. It's a nonprofit we just started, and we're working with groups and raising money to perpetuate renewable energy. We're doing some projects here in Hawaii, some education, and doing some stuff in Fiji. So I'll keep you posted on how that rolls out. But I'm really excited about taking the tools that I've learned over the years and now implementing them in all the places I've traveled and surfed, and taking people off diesel generators and fossil fuels and giving them off-grid power packs that with solar and clean water filtration systems, and a lot of cool things. So that's kind of the next chapter in my life, is that give back through the nonprofit. So I'll keep you posted, man.
Please do, man. Love it. Anything else you'd like the people to be aware of? Any messages, parting words of wisdom?
Surf slowly.
Epic, brother. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time. Speak to you soon.
Aloha.
On a roll, Kohl. See you, brother.